This is Get Real with Bob and Stacy, the show that helps you learn about the mortgage and real estate markets. Get the inside scoop from their expert list of guests and have some fun along the way. Now, here's Bob Gallagher and Stacy Alcorn.
Thanks for joining us today. You're listening to Get Real, and you're joining us for our Leaders and Legends segment with author Vlad Zachary. Vlad, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, guys.
So I want to give everybody some background on Vlad. Vlad's formal education took place in Sofia, Bulgaria, a city proud to be both ancient and young. During his college years, he built a name as a reliable journalist with pro-democracy preferences. As a student, Vlad also made his way onto the national TV scene where he anchored a leading live news show. So with this solid combo of knowledge and experience under his belt, Vlad decided that journalism was not all there was to life. So he took a job as a telecoms manager in Botswana, Africa, and learned firsthand about business, local culture, and most importantly, the tricks to cleaning catfish. A few years later, he came to the United States, earned a Babson College MBA, and among other things, founded Penguin, a location-based mobile platform, and produced a DVD called Mastering the Job Interview, and most recently came out with his first book called The Excellence Habit. So tell us, Vlad, I know that basically the idea of the excellence habit, first of all, you say there's a big difference between what people say or define as success and what people define as excellence. What's the difference between success and excellence, and why does it matter?
First, success is something that we all define for ourselves, and it's based on certain goals, on certain expectations. We have a successful job if we get a promotion, if we get a stable income, if we live in a nice neighborhood and have a stable family. It's a personal success. Excellence, on the other hand, is about how we do these things, how we get to the point of actually getting a successful career. For instance, a lot of people suffer through stress, suffer through a lot of, adverse circumstances to have a good career. And in many cases, the costs they pay are way too high. Excellence is about the idea that essentially the internal circumstances, how we do the things we do, how do we achieve success, or how do we accept adversity and deal with it are more important.
So what caused you to write the book?
It's always a good question. At some point in my life, about 2 years ago, I was looking for a book like this. I was looking for some information that would help me get unstuck professionally and personally. I was feeling in a place where there should be more to life than just earning a salary and going through the motions. And I couldn't find anything that really resonated with me. There's a lot of good literature out there, but essentially the excellence habit was the one thing that I needed to read, and this is eventually it became the book I decided to write.
That's kind of cool. Most people go out and they're looking for. So basically, you went out and said, "This is what I need," and couldn't find the book that would help you. So you're like, "I'm going to write my own book." That's awesome.
Oh, that's taking charge.
That
right there.
that is excellence. So in the book, I know you talk about the iceberg principle. What is that all about?
Iceberg principle is just a metaphor I use to basically remind myself and the audience, the readers, that success comes through a lot of work. A lot of hard work. Mm-hmm. You will learn a lot of things from a lot of people, but there are no magic formulas. There is no 7 steps to a successful career. The magic elixirs that a lot of authors and a lot of consultants are selling they're not going to help unless we do the job. And the image of the iceberg is basically most of the work that we do is going to be invisible to the eye. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be recognized. We're not going to get a pat on the back. We're not going to get a salary for it, maybe. And this is how you drive success. This is how you get to success. And there's also another important point, I think, with this iceberg principle, and this is essentially a lot of the times we are going to put in the work without knowing for sure what the end goal is, what the end result is. For instance, Hemingway, he trained as a cello player as a kid, and he hated music. He hated going through the motions and going through these lessons. But later in life, he admitted, thanks to the music lessons, I learned structure and I learned how to write better. So, essentially, same or similar story with Edmund Hillary, the first man on Everest. He was trained as a boxer, and his strong athletic abilities were actually what allowed him later on to climb Mount Everest.
That's awesome. I didn't know those two stories. So you also talk in the book about the law of not selling out. What does that mean?
Well, law of not selling out is about compromise, and we hear a lot about compromise all the time. And if somebody cuts you out in traffic, or you have the in-laws for Thanksgiving, just letting it go is a good idea, I think. But when it's when the situation is related to our core values, our core principles and beliefs, then this is the time when we should stick to our guns. This is the time when, regardless of the cost, we should basically stand for our principles and work as hard as we can for them.
Okay. You also, I know, talk a lot about that as human beings, we really need to understand the rules of excellence as they pertain to like our outside circumstances and our inner circumstances. What does that mean?
The inner circumstances is really the narrative that goes on in our heads all the time. We all tell ourselves stories. We wake up in the morning and we say to ourselves, "Oh, it's going to be a great day. It's springtime. I'm going to have a good day at work." And that's a story that we tell ourselves to make us feel better. And sometimes the situation is different. Now I'm going to have a monthly business review meeting. That's going to be a tough day. So these are stories that we tell ourselves, and we kind of have let go or never recognized the fact that these stories actually affect our performance, affect our ability to actually have a good day, or to, actually have a good monthly business review, or better achieve the things that we need to achieve. So the inner circumstances, this is the first level of, the inner voice. This is the narrative that goes on. But also the second level is what we tell ourselves in moments that matter. And by moments that matter, I mean moments of great adversity. I mentioned in the book a couple of times the story of Amy Cuddy. She's a renowned Harvard psychologist, and as a college kid, she was in a terrible accident. She was thrown out of her car, woke up in the hospital, and basically she was told that you're not going to be able to finish college. Your IQ has dropped so much by the head trauma that, there's other things for you, but college is not going to be it. And she was really upset about this because basically she defined herself. She was the smart kid. She defined herself as the smart kid, and not being able to finish college was devastating. So she worked to recover, and basically she managed to finish college 4 years later. And then when she got her first job in academia, she was really still under the impression that she didn't deserve it, that she was an imposter, that she was basically somebody who's not smart enough because of the crash, because of this great adversity. She kept telling herself. She almost quit. And thank God she didn't do this. Basically, she kept going. She's one of the, her TED talk on TED.com has the second highest number of views.
Wow.
And that's for a reason. She just came out with a book. I mean, she has achieved so much just because she kept to her principles. And this is the one principle that was basically, I wanted to do academic work, and this is what I'm going to keep doing.
So it's interesting because I agree with you that excellence, you say, is born out of having adversity or resistance in our lives. And my question for you, especially in today's society, I feel like we take away adversity and resistance from our kids. Like we want to protect them from all that stuff, but that's where the excellence is going to come from. So what's your take on that? What do we do with our young people?
That's a fantastic question. You're right. This is a paradox. We want the best for our kids, but in order for us to prepare them in the best possible way, we have to also be hard on them. We have to be harsh on them. And it can cost us our relationship with them, especially when I have an 11-year-old, and I know the years that are coming, the teenage years. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. You want to have the relationship, but you also want to be the source of them becoming good at things. So you become the source of adversity for them. And it's a paradox, and it's very tough, and I don't have a clear answer. I think most of us want the same thing as parents, and I think most of us are winging it, just going by what feels right, and also the children. All the children are different. So.
And do you have any ideas for simulating adversity in our lives? So if we know that excellence is born out of adversity and everything is great in life, what do we do to become excellent?
What do we do? Well, follow the principles as much as possible, do the work that we know we should do. And in every given moment on any day, we have internal resistance. We have, okay, should I finish this report, or maybe should I go get an ice cream and I can finish it later? There is always this, especially now with so many distractions. It's so easy to just get on Facebook and check your, especially when you get stuff with work. And this is another additional layer of additional source of adversity in everyday life. So how do we become excellent? I guess just keep doing the right thing.
Yes. Interesting. The one thing I would say just now that I have a 6-year-old daughter is the worst thing we can do for our kids is give every kid on the team a trophy, because basically there's no adversity. We're saying everybody did a great job. Well, the truth is most of you stunk and only 1 or 2 of you did a great job. So that kind of adversity is what builds excellence and builds great teams. So it's all very, very interesting stuff that you're writing about. And in fact, your book was born out of adversity, like just the fact that you went out and tried to find an answer to how to build excellence and you couldn't find the right book. Instead of just saying, all right, I can't find the right book, so I'm going to settle for a different type of book, you said, I'm going to go out and write my own book on it.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. The children, the whole thing with the trophies, achievement with children is defined differently. And it changes often. Like what is achievement at first grade is not achievement in third grade. So I think with the trophy for everyone thing, they're trying to say effort matters more than results. There is kind of an emotional marketplace that goes on that, you have to give them the opportunity to try and encourage them to try as hard as possible. But at the end of the day, the emotion is most important because they're more fragile. Their emotion is just as sensitive as their skin. Our skin, it can take a lot more than the kid. So,
but we all grew up like that.
Opinion.
We all grew up like that, where they told us that you stink and you should not play baseball. And it makes you a better person. To hear somebody say it than to be like, oh, you get a trophy, you're a great baseball player. So I understand what you're saying is that they're fragile and it's emotions and stuff. But the whole point of the book is we want to train our kids to deal with adversity, to live through the resistance, because all the good stuff is on the other side of that resistance.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right, 100%.
Especially when you look at kids coming out of college today, when they get out into the real world and they get a job, it's like they still expect their performance to be graded on a curve. I mean, it just, I tried real hard. Well, that doesn't matter.
Or they got parents calling, ridiculous stuff. And it's wow. If you look at just some of the stories that you shared, the people that move mountains in the world all came from really adverse situations that they dealt with it and created a great life around it or through it, etc. So we probably need to get better at teaching everybody how to deal with adversity. And maybe the first step people should take is just buy your book. So it's got the answer. It's got the answer. So if you have a kid that shouldn't get the baseball trophy, buy them a copy of the book.
It's a trophy of sorts, right?
Yes. So where is the best place for people to learn about you, Vlad, and buy your book?
The best place, they can always go to my website. My author page is at vladzachary.com, VLADZACHARY, vladzachary.com. But also it's on Amazon, and there is a paperback copy, Kindle copy, and also on my webpage there is an audiobook.
Oh, an audiobook. Okay. That's great. So basically just teaching people how to move through adversity in order to build the excellence that they want in their life. We have about 1 minute left. Do you want to talk for a second about your business, Penguin? What your mobile platform is?
Oh, Penguin is a past business. It's something that I developed at some point 4 or 5 years ago. And it was a mobile platform that essentially was good for the time being, but I've moved on from there.
That's awesome. So you have a whole tech background, entrepreneurship and tech.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you for joining us today, Vlad, and sharing how to move through adversity with your book, The Excellence Habit.
Great. Thanks, Vlad.
Thank you so much for having me.
We've got to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.